aforementioned oob. And today, my good friends, we're doing a little kind of not necessarily thrift haul, but kind of a book slash DVD haul of sorts. Let me just sort of organize them for maybe like a little mini thumbnail shoot over here. So we have all my few little things, all music related literature and film over here. So this is actually like the time span that this covers is a very long time, just because it's been a while since I've done a haul kind of thing. So yeah. Also, I did shoot this video like last week, but like the lighting stuff was weird. Like it was on auto, and then whenever I lean my head away, it would become like super bright. But now I set it back to just manual, as I always, or as I have it most of the time, so we don't get any of that shenanigans. Any hoozles, McDoozles. Let's start. I think we'll do it like chronologically. So first we have. Oh my God, my earphones are getting tangled in my mic stand. We have Bob Dylan, Chronicles, Volume 1. I don't know if there is a Volume 2 of this actually. But yeah, I think I bought this the day after my birthday, when I went to kind of have a celebratory kind of hangout day with my very, very good friend, who is actually in my apartment right now. So at the moment I am dog sitting for my sister and staying over at her place, and then my friend is, I guess, plant sitting over here for me, and she is the friend that I went out with to a very cute bookstore and bought this, and she actually shot some footage of me. I think she was just like practicing like videography stuff or using this camera actually, and there's some cool footage of me like looking through the books. I'll see if I want to put in the effort to like look through. I have the footage somewhere to like look through my footage and find it and like have it here somewhere. But yeah, this is basically about Bob Dylan's kind of career in the early 60s, when he comes to New York and starts like playing at like local like clubs and that kind of stuff. And the most interesting part is him talking about how when he like makes the decision to start writing his own songs, because for a while, and I guess this was just sort of the kind of culture of like folk music performances, that oftentimes you would do like a standard or like perform more like known folk songs, and then only now I'm like almost at halfway he's starting to talk about, at this point I'm starting to think about writing my own music, which is interesting. Also, like his like lyrical writing style is so well reflected in this, and like not a lot is actually going on in terms of like, not plot, but like basically he's just going around like performing, and he doesn't even really talk about the performances that he's doing. He'll say, oh yeah, I went up and did my little set. I did a few songs, and then I went stayed at my friend's house afterwards, and then I was looking at like his bookshelf, and then one of the books made me think of this one song by Woody Guthrie, and and like he goes on, so almost like very like stream of consciousness almost, and like all the like the way that he sees like connections between things, and how this one thing reminds me of something else, and it very much made me think of like, what's that song? I think it's Bob Dylan's 114th Dream, like that stream of consciousness, like connecting between stuff. And just generally it made me see like, I can see like the way his mind kind of works in his music, in his lyrics, in the way that he's writing this book. And this is an autobiographical piece, by the way. And yeah, wouldn't say I'm the biggest Bob Dylan music fan. I mean, I like a few of his albums. Blonde on Blonde, probably my like top one. Highway 65. Let me actually double check here. Actually, I do like some of his music. I'm not gonna pretend I'm not a Bob Dylan enjoyer. Yeah, Blonde on Blonde, Bring It All Back Home, Freewheeling, and Highway 65, Highway 61 Revisited are like the ones that I've been really into. But yeah, I spent a lot of time like browsing the books in the bookstore to see what I wanted to buy, and yeah, just his writing style and the font is really nice. His writing style really attracted me. The blurb on all of these kind of books about musicians are they're very clearly written by like a publisher and made to like puff them up, which it takes away from like the kind of authenticity sort of the kind of, particularly Dylan's, like he's so he talks about a lot of what's going on very like matter of factly and not like holding it to such a high standard. But the blurb is, in Chronicles Volume 1, Bob Dylan takes us back to the early 1960s when he arrived in New York to launch his phenomenal career. This is Dylan's story in his own words, a personal view of his motivations, frustrations, and remarkable creativity. Okay, like the really kind of blurby blurb part is, this is the spellbinding memoir of one of the greatest musical legends of all time. Ugh, I hate that kind of stuff. But yeah, I've really been enjoying it. As I said many times, I've said it so many times at this point, but his like lyrical writing style that I enjoy comes across in his like writing style of the autobiography, which is very cool. Next, we have this. These are thrifted. So I went on a little thrifting trip with a buddy of mine. Different from the one I bought the Bob Dylan book with. But yeah, so this was actually, we went to a few, like, I bought a cardigan as well, but it's so hot, and if I showed you guys, I'd have to put it on, and I'm not going to do that. But I did also buy a cute cardigan on the trip in which I bought these. That's, I want to say, it was in, like, September or August, I can't remember. And it was from a place called Mabo Vinyl, which is like my favorite store in the world. As you might guess by the name, they sell vinyl and CDs and lots of like music related stuff, and like the vibe on the store is just so awesome. The owner is great. He always gives you like a nice discount if you buy a few things. It's just, the vibes are just so awesome in there. And lots of like music, like autobiographical things, or not even necessarily autobiographical, but like music related books and like DVDs, even as like VHSs in there. So very cool stuff. And I guess in contrast to the Bob Dylan autobiography, we have the James Brown autobiography. Now the difference here is that the Bob Dylan one is very much like about a specific, like the early 60s. So it goes into very sort of granular detail about that, whereas this is kind of like his whole life story. Bob Dylan, the Godfather of Soul, which is written by Bob Dylan, the Godfather of Soul. James Brown, the Godfather of Soul, written by James Brown and Bruce Tucker. So I haven't read as much of this as the Bob Dylan, but this is the opposite, in where like the Bob Dylan one, there's not actually a lot going on in terms of like the things happening in the book. As I said, it's mostly just him like being in New York, staying over at his friends' places and like performing. Whereas like this, like dude, so much shit goes on as you would imagine in James Brown's life, but like the writing style is not necessarily like, doesn't sort of bring me like I don't know, it's not as interesting as like the Dylan writing style, but it's a real page turner, you know, because James Brown's life was just so interesting. I've been enjoying it. I've recently started getting into more funk music, as I've started to play like bass and guitar a little more and like finding inspiration there. And James Brown, of course, being a very important part of like the whole like funk soul kind of movement. So I have been interested in his music recently, and I thought, why not hear about the man himself? And yeah, I've been enjoying it so far. But it is a very different approach to like the granularity of the Dylan. This is like a very much his whole life story, you know. And I shall read some of the blurb over here. James Brown is soul brother number one, the man who wrote the book on soul music. The man who wrote the book on soul music. He has, okay, this is kind of the like puff piece stuff here. He has had more hits than almost any other performer, blah 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 blah. And this is the book to match the man. The hardest working man in show business tells of his rise from poverty and segregation, childhood in an August brothel and time in jail, through the small southern clubs to wealth and stardom. So as I said, a lot going on, very interesting, very like the plot, quote unquote, sorry, that's like an inside joke I have with one of my friends, because she says quote unquote, it's the friend that is here that I bought the Bob Dylan book with. She says quote unquote a lot, and I tease her for it sometimes. So what was I saying? Yeah, so as from that little blurb of like, you know, rising from poverty and segregation, childhood in an Augusta brothel, time in jail, there's a lot going on. It's very sort of compelling. So yeah, very interesting read so far, the James Brown autobiography. There are some pictures in here as well, which are cool. Let me find a nice one. Yeah, very like sort of young James Brown. So yeah, very interesting stuff. And then we have my favorite purchase of this day. We have the Rocky Horror Picture Show 2-disc special edition. This is my favorite musical of all time, one of my favorite movies of all time, and as soon as I saw it, I knew I had to get it. I have a CD already of like of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, like the soundtrack from the movie, so not like a Broadway or like West End version. Yeah, I fucking love this movie. I love this musical, and the Tudor Special Edition has some very cool like extra special feature stuff. So we have commentary by Richard O'Brien and Patricia Quinn. Richard O'Brien, who wrote this musical and also stars in it. And then Patricia Quinn as well, who is another star, and which, I mean, the commentary is very fun, very cool. We have the theatrical experience, which was not as good as I was hoping. This, I mean, in the blurb that is view Rocky Horror as you would in the theater, complete with introduction from RHBS fan club president Sal Piero, view audience reactions and performers in front of the screen at certain points throughout the film. They mean at one point throughout the film. So what this like special feature consists of is, there's at the beginning, it's the president of the Rocky Horror fan club kind of explaining the concept of, if you're familiar with like Rocky Horror, you'd be familiar with this, but how members of the audience will like dress up as the characters and then dance, perform along with the movie, and how people sort of there's like call and response with some lines in the movie, and like very cool experience and things. So the head of the president of the fan club introduces this, and then you're like, oh man, cool, we're gonna see like all these performers like performing in front of the screen, but then they only do it for Sweet Transvestite, which if you're gonna do it for one song, that's the one to pick. But like, man, they didn't even do Time Warp. But what we did see was very cool. Like the costumes that they had were so impeccable, and like they were just so into it, and like it's just cool to see people being so passionate. So yeah, I did enjoy it, but we get so little of the theatrical experience. And then participation prompt, so that it's like a subtitle thing where you can do like the audience participation call and response stuff along with a disc 2, We have Once in a While, which is a deleted Brad song. It comes right after he has his little sexual encounter with Frankenfurter. Very cool. Okay, here's the thing. A lot of this other like extra stuff I have seen just because I'm such a big fan of this movie and this musical that I think when I first watched it in university, I just consumed as many like interviews and things as I could on YouTube. So most of what's in here I'd already seen in some part, but it's nice to have them all here. But yeah, we have the deleted song, deleted scene Once in a While, which is very cool. We have 11 minutes of outtakes and an alternate credits ending. No. That is what this is so it'll be like from Time Warp, there will be a minute-long shot of like the background dancers, background performers from like a different angle, and it's like that 10 times. So it's nothing really cool or interesting or no like fun, amazing outtakes. There's like 3 different shots of Brad and Janet getting their clothes taken off by the Transylvanians. So nothing, I guess there couldn't really be a lot of alternate things because it's based on a musical that already existed, so like the writing wouldn't have changed. But yeah, those like 11 minutes of outtakes are really not much to write home about. We have, now this is a pretty meaty part, excerpts and outtakes from VH1 behind the music and where are they now. So this is like your kind of classic interview stuff. So you have interviews with Susan Sarandon, Barry Bostwick, Richard O'Brien, Patricia Quinn, and Meatloaf. Sadly no Tim Curry, but we'll survive. Meatloaf does talk for like, so 45 minutes, all the interviews are 45 minutes. Meatloaf talks for like 20 minutes. So he really has a lot to say, which I thought was pretty interesting. Because I think he was in the original, one of the original, like, I think the Los Angeles production as well. So he talks about that experience too, like of the live show. And then, the other cool thing about this is you have Richard O'Brien at the time of whenever this was done, going through the Rocky Horror Mansion, which is now like I think a hotel or something, with an acoustic guitar, just like talking about like random behind the scenes stuff from the movie and like what things remind him of. And then while playing like acoustic versions of the songs, which is really, honestly, I think that's my favorite special feature, just Richard O'Brien chatting about the mansion and like, oh yeah, that's where I like stood to like look at Brad and Janet as they were approaching the castle. And him just like playing cool acoustic covers of the songs. I just fucking loved so much. And then we have some sing-alongs. We have one of Toucha Me and Sweet Transvestite. So nice little karaoke stuff over there. And then actually another very cool thing. Rocky Horror double feature video show documentary. Again, this is more interviews. Most of which I've seen. But the one that I didn't see that I found really interesting on here was the interview with Jim Sharman, who directed the movie as well as the stage production. So it was super cool to hear his just his story about it and the challenges that he had and just his whole stuff, man, because you hear so much from Richard O'Brien and Patricia Quinn and Susan Sarandon, because they obviously the stars, the actors, but it was so cool to hear the director's perspective as well. Jim Sharman again, because he speaks about the stage production and the movie. So very, very, very cool, very enjoyable. I am happy with my purchase, extremely. And then I guess I will take it out of the box to show you. Also, the menus are so cool. Also, they have a pair of legs. These kind of Frankenfurter style legs without the body, and they kick to what the different options are. It's very cool. Here we have all of them in the final scene over here when they're all dressed as Frankenfurter. Yeah, beautiful stuff. So happy with this purchase. And that's it. I only had 4 things to talk about, but I knew that I would just ramble on. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for spending this time with me. And I will see you in the